Apes really don't like to use doors, huh? Hey everybody, welcome to Mainely Movies. Continuing my Planet of the Apes review series, today I'm going to be talking about the 7th film in the franchise, 2011 sci-fi action reboot, Rise of the Planet of the Apes. If you're new here, please consider subscribing for a variety of movie-related content, like reviews, rank lists, and trailer reactions. All my reviews include a breakdown of the pros and cons, my rating, and some tailored film recommendations, so be sure to watch through to the end of this video for all of that extra content. Rise of the Planet of the Apes stars Andy Serkis, James Franco, and Freida Pinto, and was directed by Rupert Wyatt. It tells the story of Caesar, a genetically enhanced chimpanzee who breaks free from captivity to lead an ape uprising. Some franchises just can't be stopped. They might not be continuous, they might pop up in different iterations over the years, but they just keep coming back. And Planet of the Apes is one of those franchises. After the initial 5-film run ended in 1973, there were multiple attempts to keep things going, none of which came to fruition until Tim Burton's remake reimagining in 2001. That film performed pretty well at the box office, but didn't get the best reception from audiences or critics, leading to the studio's decision to cancel a planned sequel. When that kind of thing happens, it's usually not a good sign for a franchise. So it seemed like that would finally be the end of the Apes. But like I said, some franchises just can't be stopped. Only 5 years later, work began on the next Apes sequel, and in 2011, a mere 10 years after the Burton remake, we got our newest iteration of the franchise. Rise of the Planet of the Apes fills a unique role in the broader franchise. It's not a sequel, it's not a remake, it's a reboot, but it's an interesting one because it doesn't entirely wipe the slate clean. It's sort of an alternate prequel to the original film. It pulls in ideas from the original film and its sequels, most notably Conquest of the Planet of the Apes, but it still distances itself from that and makes it clear that it's its own story. There are new ideas here and new origins for the start of the Planet of the Apes that work. They make sense and have some logic to them in the context of the story. So the movie is its own thing. It's a new take on the franchise's concept, but it never feels like it throws away or tries to outdo the original movies. Instead, it continually pays homage to them. There's this hard to describe but very satisfying blend of old and new here that goes beyond just references and Easter eggs, though there are plenty of those too. We've got a few iconic lines making their way into the script, as well as some memorable visual allusions to the original film. And then there are a lot of names popping up in various ways here. Caesar is the obvious one, and is a similar character to his original series counterpart, but then they have some fun with the other names. Caesar's mother is called Bright Eyes, which was Zira's initial nickname for Taylor in the first film. The very punchable human antagonist here, Dodge Landon, is a reference to Taylor's 2 crewmates from the first movie. And then there's even another chimp named Cornelia, a blending of Cornelius and Zira, the 2 chimp stars from the original films. One of the challenging things about films with intelligent animals is the focus of the story. Who's the main character? Is it the humans or is it the animals? A lot of movies with this human-animal split struggle with this. For example, many of the films in the Godzilla franchise, especially Legendary's MonsterVerse iteration, have difficulty finding the right balance between the humans and the creatures, and are often criticized for spending too much time on boring human subplots. Rise of the Planet of the Apes, I think, is able to handle this challenge pretty well. The first half of the film is fairly human-centric, but I think it's important, because it not only sets up the plot and conflict of the story, but it also establishes Caesar's relationship with humans, both the good and the bad sides of that. Even though Will might initially seem like the main character, once Caesar comes into the story, it's very clear that he is the main character. And the film rightfully treats him as such. He has his own plot lines and story arc. He has his own character development. There's a complexity to his character, and a surprisingly mature and emotional arc for him here, and throughout the rest of his trilogy. There are chunks of this film where the focus is purely on the apes, and apart from some minimal sign language, the titular rise of the apes and Caesar's rise to power are all presented through really effective visual storytelling. Speaking of visual storytelling, we've obviously got to talk about the visual effects. This movie came out in 2011, and the visuals obviously improved with technological advancements over the course of the reboot series, but still, this looks incredibly impressive, even with 2024 eyes. There are some occasionally wonky moments with the CGI, but overall, it holds up really well. The movement and flow, especially during the action sequences, the remarkably expressive eyes, just fantastic. When it comes to the visuals, this movie represented a massive change and leap forward for the franchise. Not just because of the quality of the CGI, but because this marked the first time in the franchise where the apes were real. Obviously, they're CG creations here, and not living animals. And I know that a real chimp was used for baby Milo in Escape from the Planet of the Apes, but what I mean here is that these aren't people in costumes and makeup. They aren't these weird human-sized sci-fi B-movie creations. They're meant to be viewed as real apes. And in order to accomplish that, they made extensive use of motion capture technology. This method had been around and effectively used before, but this film did some groundbreaking stuff with the technology, including working out how to use it while filming on location. There were a number of actors doing ape motion capture here, but special credit and acknowledgement needs to be given to Andy Serkis for his performance as Caesar. Seriously, watch some of the behind-the-scenes footage of his mocap work and you'll see what I mean. The man's physical acting skills are incredible and really make Caesar the character that he is here. Despite the questionable nature of the idea of a Planet of the Apes reboot, Rise of the Planet of the Apes manages to be a satisfying and fitting installment in the franchise. It's got the fun and excitement of a summer action blockbuster, but it's also got a tight and engaging story and thoughtful emotional drama. There's a surprising amount of pathos to the story, and especially to the character of Caesar. And this is a movie that certainly gets you rooting for the apes. The thematic components aren't quite as prominent or allegorical here as they were in the original film, but they still exist, largely in the form of animal testing and the concept of captivity versus freedom. These ideas and themes work well here, but they're also just the beginning, planting the seeds of themes that would become more prominent in the reboot sequels. Rise of the Planet of the Apes is just the first chapter of a bigger story, but it's a chapter that's satisfyingly self-contained, working equally well as its own standalone thing, as part of this reboot storyline, and as part of the broader Planet of the Apes franchise. Alright, let's talk about the pros and cons. Pro number one is Caesar. I really love Zira and Cornelius from the original films, and the original Caesar is also a good character, but I do think that this reboot iteration of Caesar is the strongest and most layered ape character we've had in the franchise. There's still a lot of development and growth to come for him throughout the rest of this trilogy, but even here, in just the first movie, he goes through such an interesting arc. Baby Caesar's incredibly cute, of course, but once he's older and starts to question his identity and his place in the world, things take an interesting and emotionally complex turn. And almost all of this has to come across physically. In this film, he doesn't have quite the language capabilities that the apes in the original film had, so much of his journey and rise to power has to be conveyed through expressions and visual storytelling. Speaking of which, the second pro has got to be the visual effects. No actors wearing ape prosthetics here. This movie marks a shift for the franchise and finally presents the apes as non-humanoid creatures. The apes here are CG creations, derived from some really fantastic motion capture work, especially from Andy Serkis as Caesar. The CGI definitely improves as the series goes on, but this first one still holds up very well, even 13 years later. Pro number three is the story direction. Not just the pathway of the plot, but also how this story fits into the bigger picture of the franchise. This movie is a really satisfying blend of old and new. It's an homage to the earlier films, managing to fit itself in as a logical alternate prequel, but it is a reboot that's still very much its own new, unique story. I think sometimes reboots, legacy sequels, and new iterations of an IP can struggle to fit in with what's already there, but this is one reboot that really works. It's satisfying as its own thing, but it's also satisfying as part of a larger whole. On the con side, my only issues are just minor nitpicks. There are a few plot holes that stand out to me, especially on rewatch, but nothing that really disrupts the story. And at times, there is a little too much focus on some of the humans. For the most part, I think the film does a good job at finding the right balance there, and Caesar is definitely the main character, but there are a couple times where the apes are sidelined in favor of trying to develop Will as a character. Speaking of Will, I think he's okay. Definitely important to Caesar's development as a character. I will say, though, I think James Franco was a little miscast here. I mean, he's fine, and in the grand scheme of the movie, it doesn't really matter, but there's this odd, lifeless, low-energy quality he brings to the character that stands out to me more and more with each rewatch. Before I give you my rating and recommendations, I want to remind you that if you're interested in buying Rise of the Planet of the Apes, or any of the other films I mentioned today, I do have affiliate links for all of them in the description below. I get a small commission from anything you buy using one of my links, so I'd really appreciate it if you'd use them if you're in the market for any of these movies. I'm gonna give Rise of the Planet of the Apes 4 out of 5 paws. It's a really satisfying reboot of the Planet of the Apes franchise that manages to pay homage to the original movies while also still remaining its own unique thing. The visual effects are extremely strong here, and Andy Serkis' impressive motion capture performance provides the visual storytelling necessary to understand Caesar and his rise to power. I would recommend Rise of the Planet of the Apes to anybody looking for a good sci-fi action film. This has got an interesting story, a strong lead character, and some great visual effects, so most people will be able to find something to like about it if they enjoy sci-fi. Existing Apes fans will probably enjoy the homage qualities of the film and get a kick out of the occasional references to the original movies, but you don't need to be a Planet of the Apes expert or even fan to enjoy this one. So this is a perfect entry point for franchise newcomers too. If you liked Rise of the Planet of the Apes, I would recommend Deep Blue Sea. Admittedly, the quality of these two films aren't exactly comparable, with Rise of the Planet of the Apes being a much better movie on nearly every level. But the plot similarities are too much to ignore, with this movie focusing on a research lab conducting genetic experiments and animal testing in the search for a cure for Alzheimer's. Only this time, it's sharks. If you like the idea of lab animals escaping captivity, you might want to check out The Plague Dogs. Directed by the same guy who made Watership Down, this animated adventure drama is another very downbeat, thematically dense animal story following a pair of dogs escaping from a cruel research facility. And if you'd like to stick with the Apes franchise, you'll want to check out Conquest of the Planet of the Apes. This fourth film in the original series served as a major story inspiration for Rise, featuring a different iteration of Caesar and another ape uprising. Alright, a couple questions for you guys. Number 1, have you seen Rise of the Planet of the Apes? If so, what'd you think of it? And number 2, what's your favorite reboot movie? Be sure to leave your answers in the comments below so we can get a discussion going. Alright, so if you got some enjoyment, insight, or information on this review, I'd appreciate it if you'd hit that like button. And if you haven't done so already, please hit subscribe or add it to see more videos like this. Till next time, this has been Alyssa with Mainely Movies. The way life should be.